Okay, thank you. So it's just about 1 o'clock. I'm calling the July 6, 2026 meeting at the Albemarle County Architectural Review Board to order. If you could call the roll, please.
Yes. Mr. Henningsen,
Here.
Mr. Mitsuno,
Here.
Mr. Vanderwerf.
Here.
We have Mr. Stoner and Mr. Hancock are both out absent. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do any ARB members have anything to disclose?
No.
No. Me neither. So today's meeting is a hybrid meeting. The public may access and participate in the meeting electronically. Instructions for doing so are posted on the Albemarle County website at the Albemarle County calendar. The public has real-time audiovisual access to this meeting over Zoom and real-time audio access over telephone, both as provided in the lawfully posted meeting notice. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available on the county's website calendar. This meeting is a public record and subject to disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act. All speakers, when it is your turn to speak, please first state your name for the record. Applicants who are making presentations, note that your presentation is limited to a total of 15 minutes, which you can divide among your team members. Staff will let you know when the 15 minutes are up. If applicants in the meeting room have team members attending virtually who will need to present, please make that known when you come to the podium. Everyone who is participating virtually, please mute your microphone until it is your turn to speak. Are there any members of the public that want to make a comment about a project that is not on the agenda for review?
No.
Got it. Would anyone like to pull the minutes off the consent agenda?
No.
No. All right. In that case, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right. Mr. Henningsen,
Aye.
Mr. Mitsuno,
Aye.
Mr. Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We have two regular review items today. The first is ARB 2026-8 Vet Emergency Group Shell Building.
Okay. This is a proposal for a veterinary clinic at the intersection of Hydraulic Road and Swanson Drive in the Stonefield Town Center. This is a view of the site next to the Regal Cinema. It's from the entrance corridor. You first reviewed this proposal on May 26th and then again in a work session on June 15th. Our staff report for today outlined how the comments from the May review had been addressed. And as a reminder, the result of the work session was that the design was moving in the right direction. This is the design of the entrance corridor facing elevation that was reviewed in May. And the primary issue then was the back of building appearance of the elevation. This is the revised entrance corridor elevation. Here's the comparison. The materials have been redistributed for a more symmetrical appearance in this revised elevation. There's also a greater proportion of hardy siding, and the siding and the ephes colors are consistent with those used throughout the shopping center. These are the side elevations with the original design at the top and the revised design at the bottom. These revised elevations are consistent with the entrance corridor elevation, and the east elevation incorporates green screens like those used elsewhere in the shopping center. Although the green screens are shown on the elevation drawing, the site plan does not show any planting area associated with them. So one of our recommendations is to update the site and landscape plans with that information. The site wall was also a topic of discussion in the previous reviews. The current submittal provides details that show double-sided blocks for the site wall and the fence that's proposed for the top of the wall, and that those appear to have an appropriate appearance. The plan also shows a row of shrubs added along the entrance corridor side of that wall, and we expect that combination to have an appropriate appearance on the corridor. Another issue discussed in the previous reviews was the proposed trimming of the arborvitae that are planted along the Regal Cinema. The applicant has indicated that the trimming won't damage the root system, which is a good thing, but there's still a concern that the trimming will damage the appearance of the trees and possibly permanently. The trees were planted very close to the screen wall that's next to the cinema building. There aren't many branches on the screen side, so trimming on the new building side of the tree could result in an unnatural appearance. So we've repeated the comment requesting additional information to show exactly how that's going to work. We've also included a few comments on standard requirements for landscaping and lighting, and our recommendation is for approval with the revisions listed in the staff report. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you have.
All right, thanks a lot, Margaret. Guess we'll start with Dade if you have any questions.
No questions. Thank you, Margaret.
Tara?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry, Margaret, I don't have any questions either. So if the applicant has a presentation.
This is Juanita Lee from Design Develop, the architect for the project. I'm just going to go through one by one with those staff recommendations to outline how we have either started to address or will address all of the comments. So for the green screen plantings, I have here markup and how the civil engineer will be updating the site plan to include the English ivy, which is the plantings used for the other green screens around Stonefield, and to mark the locations on the site plan there. In terms of making sure the lighting meets all the requirements in for the entrance corridor, we've noted that these are full cutoff fixtures. The temperature of the lighting has been updated to 3000 K for warm light glow, and the dark bronze color will be used for all the fixtures. We've already updated the site lighting photometric plan. We have added the parcel line. Since the parcel is basically for the entire shopping center, there's really no specific building lots. So what we've done is we've marked that parcel line on the south there. And then we have annotated that the shopping center at that whole parcel extends over 300 feet in both directions from the sides of the building to show that the foot candle requirement is going to be met. We've also updated the fixture schedule to match the 3000 K temperature, and then added the note in the general notes about the outdoor luminaire. In terms of the recommendation to be more specific in how the trimming will be done, the contractor has informed us that they just need 4 feet of clearance beyond the line of the site wall, and they would trim vertically up about 10 feet. And so what we plan to do is, on the existing conditions, have lines demarcating that line of trimming, and then also a line demarcating where the site wall will be, and then hatch in the area of the trees that will need to be trimmed for the construction. And also adding a note for the one large existing tree you can see there in the northwest corner, that the lower branches would only need to be trimmed to about 8 feet. And so we're hoping that with this information, it would be more clear the extent of what the tree trimming will be. Just for illustrative purposes for this presentation, here we have basically a rear elevation where you can see the point cloud data from the trees. And I've marked out in the dotted yellow box, that's where you would see the 4 feet past the site wall up to 10 feet above the grade there. And so where the trimming will happen will be in the lower part of the tree, and the upper parts that are screening the Regal Cinema would still remain in place. And then for the site plan, for what the conditions will be after construction, we will have the same annotations, but then also note that the trees would be, the property owner says the trees will be allowed to grow back to that site wall. So all the things that were trimmed from the bottom would be able to grow back And so we're hoping that with that information, that will help clarify the extent of the trimming and what the plan is for those trees. And the landscape schedule, we would update the schedule to include a column to note that the minimum planting sizes for the cherry laurel and the serviceberry would be 24 feet. I think for the serviceberry, it'd probably be closer to 6 feet, but since those plants don't have calipers, we'll just have to add an extra column to make those sizes more clear. And then there was a note about the wall signs. Those currently what we have is a note on our elevations that the exterior signage is provided by the owner. It's in their scope to work with the tenant to apply for the approval for the signage. So we'll add the comment that wall signs cannot be approved until Stonefield comprehensive sign plan is revised to include the new building in that elevation note, just so that it's more clear. And I believe that handles all of those comments. If there's any questions about how we plan to address all of those suggestions, let me know.
All right, thanks a lot. Tara, do you have any questions?
I don't. Thank you.
Dade?
Not about the response to the comments. Thank you. That's an extraordinarily thorough presentation of those responses. Thank you. One question I had for the future signage plan, which may be on your radar too. It looks like the location of the sign that's proposed is prominent also in the view of the pylon sign or the monument sign for the overall complex. So there's a little bit of tension between sort of the building and that. And then there's thankfully a lot of nice landscape also going in front of that sign, which may obscure it. So I'll look forward to seeing what you'll propose for the signage after reviewing it with Stonefield.
Yes, and Margaret has made us aware that we need to be careful about the height of the lettering to make sure there's enough clearance around that with that band where the signage will go. And so that will be something that is worked out with the tenant.
Thank you.
All right, I don't have any questions. Thank you. Are there any members of the public that want to make a comment?
No.
All right, great. So in that case, the ARB will now go into discussion. I guess starting with Dade, if you have any comments.
Sure. So I appreciate the applicants working with the board over the last couple of weeks and the thorough response to staff comments. I think the additional detail on the tree trimming is helpful, and I think between the extent that's proposed and its location effectively behind much of the building, I think that addresses any concerns I may have had about it. And then just appreciate generally the further development in the design. So prepared to have an approval today.
All right, thank you. Tara?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with what Dade mentioned, including I think all of our questions have been answered by the presentation. I don't have anything to add. I appreciate the applicant working with us.
All right. Yeah, at the risk to sound like a broken record, I would say the same thing, but I'll save time by not saying that. If we could take a look at the recommended motion.
The recommendation is for approval with the conditions listed in the report.
I don't have any comments on that.
Okay. I don't either. In that case, I move for approval of the certificate of appropriateness for ARB 2026-8 FET Emergency Group Shell Building with the conditions listed in the staff report.
I'll second.
Right, if we could put that to a vote.
Mr. Vanderwerf,
Aye.
Mr. Mitsuno,
Aye.
Mr. Henningsen.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. All right, our second regular review item is ARB 2026-10 Med Square Ambulatory Surgery Center.
Right now. She'll go first and then you can come up.
Okay, this is a review of a final site development plan and a revised architectural design for a new medical office building in the Peter Jefferson Place development. The site is located approximately 380 feet south of the Route 250 East entrance corridor. The parcel does not have frontage on the corridor. The ARB completed a preliminary review of this project in December of last year. These are some of the images from that review. The staff report for today's meeting outlined how the revised proposal addressed the comments from that meeting. One change that has been made since the December review is a change to the layout of the ambulance drop-off area. This slide shows a comparison of the previous layout on the left to the current layout in the middle. And the image at the right is the updated drop-off. It has a reduced canopy length as viewed from the entrance corridor. This is a more distant view of that side of the building. Overall, the form and the character of the building remain the same, as does the landscaping in the vicinity. This slide highlights where other recent changes have been made to the elevations, and they're mostly changes to windows and canopies. Material samples were requested and they have been provided. They are up behind you at the stage if you'd like to look at those up close. We do expect that these materials will be compatible with the others in the development and with the buildings along the corridor. One comment made in the previous review was about the rooftop elements and whether they contributed to a coordinated appearance. This image highlights some of the changes that were made to rooftop elements. Again, primarily the adjustments were to the sizes of the canopies and to the mansard roof on the main entrance side of the building. The multiple roof elements remain, but the applicant has explained that the multiple forms are meant to help reduce scale, establish hierarchy, and express the organization of the program. The roof forms are visible in these new perspective views, and the building is expected to be visible from the street, but it will be visible at a distance and beyond and through the existing street trees. Another comment from the previous review asked for a lighting plan to be submitted. That has been submitted. We've reviewed that plan, and we've had a few recommendations for changes to make that plan consistent with the guidelines. So our recommendation is for approval of the plan with the revisions listed in the staff report.
All right, thanks a lot for the presentation. Yes, Dave, do you have any questions?
No, I don't believe so. Thank you, Margaret.
Tara?
I don't have any questions either. Thank you, Margaret.
Yeah, I don't have any questions either. So if the applicant has a presentation.
Need some help? Do you need some help?
The mouse is not moving.
Oh, this one?
Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for this technical difficulties I was having today. Thank you so much, Margaret, for the summary and the recommendations. And I am an architectural designer at BA Wolpert. Today, the applicant, Shannon Dre, couldn't join us in person, and he apologizes, but he is available online and joining us on the Zoom call to answer any questions you might have. Today, we have prepared the presentation for you to talk about the points of discussion that were mentioned in the report. The site is located on Peter Jefferson Place on Parcel D, which means that we have to abide by more regulations architecturally than that is required by the ARB. And all of the buildings that are surrounding our building are also following these same restrictions. The entrance corridor is about 180 feet from the building. And you can see that for Parcel D, we do have some more constraint that we took into consideration when we were developing the design. The site plan should feel like a campus with connecting walkways around it. The architecture needs to reflect our like classical Virginia architecture with a predominant building of color white. And the roof needs to be defined by dormers and gables. Having one solid surface for the roof is not something that was recommended, and we needed to break up the roof into smaller pieces. The landscape and all of the fencing around the walls need to be in harmony with the landscape around it, and all of the plants that were selected were native to the location. So if we look at this site, it's located within the boundaries of the yellow line, and all of the buildings around our site look and feel respect all of these rules. And then we can see that the building D, C, and E are predominantly white. And we looked at these as precedents for our building and how the shape and the massing of these buildings informed our design decisions. This is our new building here. It's a medical office building that will be located between these buildings. And you can see where it says 1 here, it's connecting with the Centaur Martha Jefferson Hospital campus, which we wanted to keep because this is also a medical office building. Number 2, it shows how it's connecting to existing retention ponds. And then number 3, the view from the entrance corridor that we have. We added a section here for the building to see how it will look from the entrance corridor, Route 250. You can see here that we have a landscape buffer between the roadway and the building. And we have a setback with the retention pond being in between. So this will be heavily vegetated and not really interfering much with the visibility of the building from the main entrance corridor. This is what it would look like. And you can see all of the landscape that we assume in summer would be like that. I will show a little bit more pictures about what it could look like in winter when the trees are not so bushy. But you can see how the building and its roof composition reads as a cohesive whole, and it fits within the urban planning setting that we have here and the other buildings around it. For our roof hierarchy, we wanted to create a cohesive image and express the program within the constraints of the building. This is a clinical building, but we wanted to also emphasize the entrances. We wanted to reduce the massing of the building instead of having a whole block, breaking it up to have different roof hierarchy showing intentionally the human experience of where the entrance is, so we can like a way of wayfinding, and they can see where the entrance is. We wanted to clarify that by having these walls that show the entrance with the signage on top. And then where we have larger windows is where we have the staff lounge, so they can have a better view of the pond that is gonna be in their site. They will overlook it. And all of the windows here are where we have more clinical spaces. From the main corridor, this would be the view, and Margaret showed us the same view. So we just wanted to show that we updated this ambulance drop-off canopy, which was much larger before. But after we talked with the tenants, we agreed on reducing it and making it more human scale and more informative of where the entrance is. This would be another view from the south, looking at the building. You can see that it doesn't really show much, but you can still see that it has a good presence. It shows what it is, the intent of it, and it is visible, but also blending with the overall landscape over there. These are some pictures we were trying to show kind of the experience of how you would see this building if you are on the corridor and driving by. And this is like in the winter. This was summer. This is winter when we have less leaves. And then these would be other images that we can see. Winter. We updated the site plan, as I mentioned, the drop-off canopy. We highlighted here all of the revisions that we think are moving in the right direction and making the building look better. The floor plan has been updated a little bit when we talked to the tenants and agreed on the ambulance drop-off with the staff entrance. So all the roofs are located where these entrances are important. From the south is the main entrance to the building. The north side that is visible from the highway and the entrance corridor is for the service. And then on the right and left, we have staff coming in. And then on the left side is more staff, but also the ambulance drop-off. And the roof plan shows where these entrances are. That's why we have these mansard roofs located where they are. And the canopies above the ambulance drop-off has been updated as well. The elevations here, we highlighted all of the revisions we made to the drawings. We made the larger window from the entrance corridor. The first elevation would be the one that is visible. So we made larger windows at the center, and then the ambulance drop-off canopy updated. We removed some windows because they were in the way of the pre-post bays where we don't really need the windows. But we still wanted to keep the brick pattern over there for hierarchy and rhythm in the building overall. In the bottom, you can see how that elevation where the ambulance drop-off is also updated. And we added more window on the one on the right. We did submit some samples of the materials that we picked. We have the red brick, and we have a white tonal range for the white part. And then we have some ACM metal panels. We did provide a sample for the roof, which is pack clad in a gray color. And we have fiber cement screening on the roof that matches the metal panels that we picked in color. They are light gray. And we did provide a glass sample as well that we will talk about later with the specs. It was a recommendation in the report to talk about it. And these are overall the materials. For the site wall, we did provide a sample of that as well. This would be the updated view of the entrance. You can see we removed the windows, and ambulance drop-off canopy now looks a little bit more better and suitable for the overall composition of the building. This would be the other side of the building. And then the glass sample that we picked, we were basing it off of the ARB guideline, which says that the reflectance of the outside pane of the glass should be kept below 7%. And that's why we picked the one that we did. The recommendation was to have a different sample, possibly that is more aligning with the requirement of having a visible light transmittance VLT of below, not below 40%, which is right now we are showing it is below, and then VLR not to exceed the 30%. So the sample that we provided is the number 2 here, GL1A. We are proposing to move to GL1 that could fit these requirements better. But for us, the heat, the solar gain, the light to solar gain was an important factor, and that's why we picked the second one. But we can definitely move to the first one here on the list that could be more in line with what the ARB wanted us to do. And we have a sample in the office that we can mail in. And we are looking forward to getting an approval from the board. Thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Right, thanks a lot for the presentation. We'll start with Dade if you have any questions.
Sure, yeah, thank you for the presentation and thank you for the additional visualization today. It's very helpful to understand more fully the building and what's proposed. I don't know if it's possible for you to pull up, I think it's called the view from the southeast. It's earlier in the presentation. I think there's a
Is it this one?
maybe a little earlier still. I think there was a page maybe with two views or this one's it. Yeah, that I think the keep going back. There was one before that. Oh, sorry, no, I guess if you go forward again, sorry. And then I think this one. And thank you also for highlighting the standards of the development. I'm just interested to ask, is there a review process for the development? And has this design?
Yes,
Been
we
vetted.
did do that review process and we got approval on it.
Okay, thank you. I was interested especially just that those standards call for gables or dormers because the roof forms in this building are fundamentally sort of sheds or lean-tos, not gables and not complete. So was interested to ask, I guess, just generally to staff's comment about increasing the coherence of the roof forms, if you have any thoughts about how that might be done.
Well, we didn't want to do dormers. We wanted to make this building more timeless, and that's why we picked the mansard roof instead. If we want to make them more cohesive, what is your thinking?
I don't know that I have a prescriptive solution. I was just interested, given staff's comment, whether you had thoughts about alternatives to make the roof form more coherent, and in light of the standards that you referenced about the use of gables, was interested to highlight that. I think I agree, as you've described the entrances, they all are rational in terms of how they relate to approaches from parking and other areas. I think the view from the southeast that you're sharing here before, it's not as clear how the roof forms contribute to the overall hierarchy or organization of the mass as it's perceived from the corridor, I think. So, but that was my main question. So with that, happy for my colleagues to offer theirs. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Tara?
Yes, I had a question. Would you be able to talk a little bit about the mechanical units on the roof and whether the screening is sufficient for shielding them?
Yeah, so we did work with our mechanical engineers on the roofing. And the reason why we have these screens the way they are is because all of the RTU units are going to be placed in the center of the building and hidden by the fiber cement panels on the right and left here.
And so the height of those walls in the center, I think I saw like 6 or 7 feet. And
Correct.
so that should cover the
Yeah,
mechanical
it
units.
should cover them, yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
All right, I don't have any questions. So are there any members of the public that want to make a
We
comment?
have Shannon Drake, is she with you?
Yes, he's with
Okay.
me.
Shannon, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can speak.
Great, thank you. This is Shannon Drake. I am
Can you
with,
hear me?
I can hear you. Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Okay,
Great. Again, my name is Shannon Drake. I am with BA Wolpert. Thank you for the opportunity to add commentary to what my colleague Rolla presented. I wanted to go back and talk a little bit about the review process on the roof configuration and why we ultimately ended up with shed roofs instead of a gabled roof or a pitched roof. The review process we had with the planned development people that are in charge of that parcel of land was we initially actually had a very different roof configuration in that it was a flat roof, and they were actually not interested in creating a sort of historical language that really didn't go along with an ambulatory surgery center. And so we worked I believe over the course of 6 or 7 months to come back to something that had some of the geometries that you see in traditional architectural language, but that had a more modern bent to it. So we did this 4 times with them, and ultimately the approval was successful. I think one of the things that they mentioned was materiality was important to them, and that the tonal ranges. So gray roofs, be that slate, be that metal, but something that had that flavor to it. And really the desire or the language that talks about dormers and things of that nature is language that came forth in the 90s when this was set forth. So they completely understood that, you know, again, a surgery center isn't going to have that type of element to it. So there were some uh, opportunities to negotiate that. Having said that, I think one strategy that we could deploy to uh, further enhance the hierarchy here is really, I think the imagery isn't uh, developed to the point where the contrast of the roof elements with the horizontal line is coming through in the images. That roof should read uh, as a major part of the massing. And so anything that really reinforces the fact that we're trying to break this horizontal bar that's really long is something that's going to help increase the rate of this being a very purposeful approach to the building. So that's something that we can certainly look at, is really tweaking the tonality of the roof and how that accentuates the actual pieces that it's framing. So it's really framing the public entrance on the opposite side of the view corridor, the staff entrance on the west side of the building, and then what faces us in these images is the conference room and break area for the clinic and the ambulatory surgery center. So, you know, we really want to keep reinforcing that. I think it's a matter of tweaking perhaps the tonality of the roof, and we can certainly look at adjusting the pitch so there's more presence to us. That would, I think, really reinforce the purposefulness of this. And that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you for the additional comments.
Thank you. All right, if there are no more comments from the public, the ARB will go into discussion, starting with Tara, if you have any comments.
Thanks. I think generally speaking, I think that the presentation as shown meets a lot of the criteria in the entrance corridor design guidelines. I appreciate the level of representation that we've received to kind of evaluate the proposal. You know, I think to Dade's comment around the roof forms, I think when we go to those perspectives that are closer to the building, like the one around the, like showing sort of the parking lot view. You know, I think I see where where the intention was really clear. It does play as like an element on the facade. It does signal entry, and I can understand why not including those in those locations would sort of diminish the success of the proposal. I think it's when you zoom out a little bit to like the views from the corridor where it becomes a little bit less purposeful, maybe, where like I can see that there's just a lot, because between the shed on the front, the shed on the, or what I read is the front and the back, just the long faces of the building, and then the shed on the, I guess, the staff entrance as well. It just feels like there's a lot of planes going on where their relationship is less clear to the overall building form. And you know, I don't know that it's like a I think in my view, the ones on the long face of the building are the most successful at doing what the applicant described of breaking that horizontal line and establishing primary facades for the building. But that it might be more legible with just one fewer shed on the service side. It's a rather shortened facade anyway, and it has a canopy and it has other features that kind of distinguish it. Overall, I think it's a nice addition to the campus. I appreciate also that there are other constraints with the internal review process. But I think that Dade is probably onto something around the roof forms, and some study would be appreciated.
All right, thank you. Dave?
Well, yeah, no, thank you. And thank you, Tara, for your remarks. I think I appreciate those perceptions. And thank you again to the applicant for the additional visualization and for the additional background on the reviews, which are very helpful to understand. I think, Tara, I appreciate your noting the application of the language of the sheds to the various facades and considering, whether fewer ones would be more coherent, or alternatively, I think it's that, the corner with the ambulance entrance, at least through the visualizations today, seems to be one of the more prominent portions of the building to the entrance corridor. So alternatively, I don't know if extending that shed language as an element that, more consistently breaks up facades, highlights entry and programmatic function around the building might alternatively make it more coherent. But I appreciate the applicant's willingness to explore and consider ways to further enhance the language that they're working with to make the building forms more coherent overall for the project.
All right, thank you. I don't really have anything significant to add. I think some additional refinement on the roof forms would certainly be good. But I feel that overall I'd support the proposal as submitted. But I appreciate the applicant's willingness to take a further look at the roof forms. So if we could take a look at the recommended motion.
The recommendation was for approval with the conditions listed in the staff report. The first one in the list just says consider revising the design of rooftop elements to increase coordination. So I don't know if you want a revision to that.
I think personally, understand the applicant's willing to explore it a little further, but I think at least along with Taro, we have some concerns about seeing something more. I would support maybe making it a requirement to further develop the roof elements for coordination. I know in some cases applicants have returned for a focused work session to advance that. I don't know what means would be most efficient, but certainly happy to. But I defer to Chris and Tara for their take on how best to address.
Yeah, I think the only thing is, like, I don't know if that I want them, given the level of development of everything else and our pretty much consensus on it, like, I wouldn't want them to have to, I would want to be able to provide them either with the consider language so that they have the flexibility to propose something to staff, and ultimately, should they decide based on, again, give good reasons for why they would either remain with the current proposal or change it, that they would be able to move forward in the process. But if we're requiring a revision, I just don't know if it's like enough for staff to go on without checking back in with us. That's my only concern.
Sure. If you want to require it, we can get back to you as quickly as possible in a work session, just as the schedule permits. I think if you want to leave it as consider revising, then There's a lot more wiggle room there.
Yeah, I think if we put, I think fundamentally, if we say consider, then we should all be comfortable with the current proposal because that could be what's executed. I think for me personally, I don't feel like that corner that in that one view is most prominent to the EC is satisfactory from my perspective yet. But I defer to others.
I will point out that some of those views are bird's eye views that I think don't take into consideration the some of the impact that the trees right along the entrance corridor will have for screening and blocking some of the view.
I agree the landscape will be a significant mitigating factor for that facility.
I think my case for the consider is I think we have different issues with the roof. And I don't know that resolving one would necessarily satisfy the other person.
Yeah.
So that's why I would put it, I think, given their work on the project thus far, I feel like I don't know that I feel as strongly about the emergency canopy side. And so I would be content to just leave it as a consider in order to let them exercise their judgment based on what they've heard and are willing to put forth based on what they have going on. That's my
Yeah.
personal
Okay.
take.
Right.
Sounds
I'm
like that's
kind of-
probably the majority consensus on board. So happy to.
All right, well, if there are no other points of discussion, then I'll move for approval of the certificate of appropriateness for ARB 2026-10 Med Square Ambulatory Surgery Center final with the conditions listed in the staff report.
Second,
Oh, second.
Mr. Henningsen,
Aye.
Mr. Mitsuno,
Aye.
Mr. Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. We do not have any work sessions today, so we'll move on to other business. But first of all, do any board members or staff have any other issues they'd like to discuss?
Attendance at upcoming meetings is the only other item for me.
Okay. Well, starting with the next meeting, which is scheduled for Monday, July 13th, which is next Monday. I am planning on attending. So I don't know about the other board members.
Planning as well to attend.
I won't be able to attend.
All right, so I guess we'll do a email poll to hopefully get a quorum for that.
Yes. And I think after today's meeting, Carolyn's going to send an email out to everyone to see about attendance through the summer, just so we have a better idea of, and understanding that things may still change, but just have an idea of what sort of attendance we have as we keep having to bump things from one agenda to the next. It'll just help to know if you already know what dates you won't be available. Okay.
I know, looking at my calendar, that I won't be available on the 27th. I can repeat that
27th. Okay.
in an email thread, but just
Okay.
because we're here.
Great. Thank you.
Has anybody heard of any initiatives in Richmond to relax the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, no.
All right. In that case, this meeting is adjourned. Hopefully until Monday, July 13th, or some other date to be determined later. It's 1:49 by my watch. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all.
Thank you.